Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Because our last Thursday video got so much support, we decided to continue on with these type of videos, but for different objectives. Today we are going to look at how Pro League players play Blue Bar and Sunrise Bar, and talk about how we can turn this into a rank strategy for you guys to use during your rank games. So overall, there's really two different ways to hold this objective. One is to expand horizontally into office and kitchen and lobby, and the other is to extend vertically and hold the areas above like hookah and billiards. But overall, I think it's easier to play the horizontal and expand horizontally, and I think it will work better in ranked as well, so that's the one we're going to talk about in today's video. So just like last video, we need to figure out where the most powerful positions for the defenders to play are on this objective, and then we can base our strategy around that. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, the most powerful position right off the bat is going to be behind the couch in Sunrise Bar. This position will allow the person behind the couch to contest anyone coming in the Sunrise closet door, as well as people trying to plant in Blue Bar. Now let's first talk about the reinforcements we want to use, so you can figure out how we're going to lay out this objective. So first we will reinforce 2 walls behind the couch to protect the player playing there. In addition, we'll also reinforce 1 wall that leads from behind the couch into what most people call jungle, or some people might know it as the kitchen hallway, to protect the couch player as well. Next, we'll want to reinforce the 4 walls in Sunrise that lead into Sunrise Closet, and the reason for this you'll see in a little bit, but we're going to use these reinforcements to create another powerful position just like the couch. And our 8th reinforcement will go on the office wall in Blue Bar, and you want to make sure you're reinforcing the left wall here. And the reason why we do this is because if you don't reinforce it, then attackers are able to do something that could definitely counter our strategy. So I'll talk about it a little bit more in a little bit, but we definitely want to be reinforcing the left wall here. The 9th reinforcement we're going to use in kitchen. The reason for this, it's very hard to play in kitchen without this reinforcement, so it gives the person in kitchen a place to play. And the final reinforcement we're going to use is going to be the hatch in hookah, because none of us are playing upstairs and we're going to have no way to contest them, so we're going to need to reinforce that hatch. Alright, now let's get into the details on how we would hold the rest of the ground floor. In my opinion, the best way to extend over the whole entire ground floor is to have 1 person playing office, 1 person playing security, and 1 person playing kitchen. We also said earlier we're going to have someone playing behind the couch, and the final person, we haven't talked about their position yet, so let's just say for now that they're going to play in Sunrise also. The reason why these are the strongest positions is because the ability of crossfires. I know we talked about this in the last video, and it's very important, and you're going to use that again in this strategy. Now, if the attackers decide to push office, you'll have the couch player who will be able to see the right side of office. We'll have the player in office who will be behind the bookcase holding an angle. And finally, you also have the security player who can come over and have another angle if they push that way. So you have a lot of different crossfire opportunities. As well as if they decide to push lobby, you'll have the player in kitchen with an angle, and you'll have a player in security with another angle onto lobby. If they decide to push the server door, the player in kitchen could sit behind the reinforcement to contest them, as well as you could have someone come from Sunrise to come over and give another angle. And finally, you could open up some feed holes into lobby, and this will allow the security player to have an angle on there to help as well. And finally, if they decide to go for a kitchen window take, which is probably not likely, but if they do that, you will have a player in kitchen that can have an angle, as well as someone can come over from Sunrise and give you another angle. So now you can see that no matter where they push, you can always get help from your teammates. You really just have to communicate well and understand how to play these crossfires. So now let's talk about how the off-site players can have an impact on the site. The easiest way to do this is open up the whole wall in Blue Bar going into courtyard. This will make it so the security player can have an angle from lobby, and the kitchen player could go into the kitchen hallway and have an angle from the kitchen hallway into Blue Bar as well. So now let's put some operators into this lineup. The first 2 operators I would suggest is Jaeger in security, as well as Walmai being that one position that we haven't talked about yet. So now, because of this, I think it's a perfect time for us to talk about it. With Jaeger and Walmai in the lineup, this gives us the ability for Walmai to place his shield in this corner and for Walmai to play behind it. Now what we're going to do is stack all 3 ADSs with Walmai Magnet together near the shield, and it's going to become very, very difficult for attackers to push him out. In addition, another reason why we decided to put Walmai in this corner, because if the attackers go upstairs and they're able to open up most of the floor with a buck or a sledge, let's say, then they can see behind the couch and the bar, but they will not be able to see Walmai in the corner. Alright, so Walmai will be running shield while Jaeger will be running barbed wire. So now let's figure out the rest of the lineup, and then we'll talk about what each of you guys will be doing. So next, I would recommend Smoke to be the player behind couch. Then really the last two will become very flexible, but I would recommend both of them having C4. To me, the best options would to be go with Mute in kitchen and Valkyrie in office. But these are definitely changeable, and you could go with different options if you choose to do so. So now let's get into the details on what everyone will be doing. So most of these operators have a very, very long setup time, so it's really important that you guys know what you're doing before the round starts so you don't run out of time and you can get everything done in the prep phase. So first off, Walmai will reinforce the 2 walls on the side of closet and place his shield in the corner and magnets all around the shield. Jaeger will reinforce the 2 other walls on the side of closet, place his 3 ADSs down around the shield. I will show you guys later the best positions to be placing them, but for now we'll just leave it at that. He will then put barbed wire under the closet window and one in office to help Valkyrie from getting pushed. Then he needs to make sure he gets over to security before the round starts, just in case they push lobby early. Next up is Smoke. He will place his barbed wire under the sunrise window and the cool vibe stairs. He will reinforce the 2 walls behind couch, and finally he'll make the rotation hole into blue bar, followed by the huge hole that will be made in the blue bar going to courtyard. And like I said earlier, he will be playing behind the couch. Next up is Mute. He will start the prep phase by placing a few mute jammers around sunrise. Then he will reinforce the jungle wall. Then he will go into kitchen and place his final reinforcement and mute jammer down there. And like I said earlier, Mute will be playing inside the kitchen. If he has the time before the round starts, he can open up the feed holes that lead into lobby for Jaeger to help him. But if not, he could always do it later in the round when it's a slow part of the round where not a lot of actions are going on. Finally, we have Valkyrie. She will reinforce the wall in office and then go upstairs and reinforce the hatch inside hookah. She will place all of her Valcams down. Now these spots can definitely be switched out, but this is what I would recommend. I would say it's best to have one in office, the second one in sunrise closet, or an outside cam outside of the sunrise closet, and finally the third one I would recommend to put either in lobby or courtyard. Now if you guys decide to go with the lobby and office cams, you can see some example spots on the screen right now. The lobby cam allows you to see when people are pushing into lobby, and it's also very, very hard for the attackers to notice this camera. As for the office cam, this will give Valkyrie the ability to play behind the bookcase and see when people are pushing her. I just want to say both these Valcams and many more amazing Valcams on this map were a part of our go-to Valcams video for Coastline, and if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend you guys check that out. The link for that will be in the description. But after Valk places all of her Valcams, she needs to make sure she gets back to office in time before the round starts, just in case they go push office very early. Alright, so now we got our basic setup, and everyone understands what they're doing. So now I'll go through some tips and situations that will come up frequently and you really want to be paying attention to. So let's first start with if the attackers go for a vertical take, because this is probably the strongest way to attack this objective. When the attackers decide to do this, they're going to go upstairs and try to open up the hookah floor and then rotate down and go for plants in sunrise default plant. Which, if you didn't know, the default plant in sunrise is by where Walmai shield is located. If they do this right at the beginning of the round, there's really not much you can do. We could risk sending someone upstairs to flank, but it's not really worth it. You guys will want to just sit still, check cams, and shoot out some drones. Now, once they start opening up the floor in hookah, this is where it will become very interesting for our Smoke player. Smoke will want to bounce around between the couch and the bar counter, but once there is really no safe spot for him, then Smoke will want to fall back in this situation inside blue bar. Now the round's really going to come down to how long can Walmai last for. Now for the Walmai player, you should never be focusing on getting kills. You really should just be focused on surviving and wasting as much utility as possible. And especially if your shield is up, you really don't have to peek a lot. It's okay to pre-fire the sunrise closet window from time to time, but don't overdo it because you don't want to be dying. But just know you will eventually die, but you really just need to make it the time and utility they spend worth it. So one way to really optimize your survival is to keep one magnet in your pocket at all times. The reason for this is because you want to have one for as soon as the last ADS gets destroyed or burned out. Most of the time, people will try to do throw flashbangs that burn the ADSs, and as soon as you break the last ADS, they'll throw a frag in. So when they burn that last ADS, you're going to want to throw your wall mine magnet right after to stop the grenade. Now, something you guys might think will counter this is if they have a Thatcher, they'll be able to destroy a lot of the ADSs. And yes, Thatcher will suck in this situation, but as you can see on screen, what you want to do is you want to place your ADSs far enough away apart that only one ADS can be destroyed with the Thatcher charge. They're not in the range that two can be destroyed. Now, if they end up going for this vertical take, and eventually they come down to Sunrise and they destroy that wall mine shield, that's the point where you can start getting more aggressive and try to get that 1-for-1 trade out, and it's going to end up being worth it. So now let's talk about how the other defenders will play in this situation. Like I said earlier, Smoke probably fell back into blue bar because they opened up the ceiling. So what he'll want to do is he can hold an angle onto the Sunrise closet from blue. At the same time, Valk and Office can kind of use the same similar angle by putting bullet holes on the unreinforced part of the wall in Office. Now, one final thing you guys could do is have Mute run out the service door to get some run out kills, or Valkyrie can run out of the office door and try to kill anyone out the Sunrise window. Now, after Wallmai dies, the most important thing becomes stopping that plant. But all these defenders left have a lot of utility to do that. So in a perfect world, you would still have all your smokes left, but that's not always the case. But the best advice I can give you from my experience and what I've seen is that at this point, they're so focused on getting the plant down that they're not really going to be paying attention to the holes on the ceiling anymore. So it is probably worth it to try going back inside the couch or behind the bar. So what you're going to want to do is you're either going to want Smoke or Mute to get behind the bar to use their smoke grenades or C4s to stop the plant. Also, Valkyrie can go through the rotation hole in blue bar, and she can throw her C4 there and get it right into the default plant. And finally, Jaeger can come over to kitchen hallway and hold a nice long angle over towards the default plant, and he might be able to see the arm or leg of them while they're planting. Now, of course, every round won't play out like this, but I think for the most part, if they're going to go for a vertical take, this is generally what their objective and their checklist will be on what they want to do. Now, if the attackers attack the site differently by going for horizontal take, it's much harder to predict. But the most important thing to do as a defender in this situation is to communicate. This will allow you and your teammates to rotate around and set up crossfires like we talked about earlier. Now, in this situation, you can argue you could do a retreating strat like I talked about in the cafe video for reading room. But in this situation, I wouldn't do that. If you give the attackers some part of the first floor for free, then it's much easier for them to take control of the rest, and there's really only so much space you can fall back to. So just make sure you have some support from your teammates, and you're probably going to have to fight. Now, if the attackers decide to go take office and plant in blue bar, there's some things you should know. In this situation, you're definitely going to want to be watching courtyard to stop any of the plants into blue bar. So you're going to definitely want someone in lobby, and you're going to definitely want someone in kitchen hallway. From there, you'll be able to stop every single plant location besides one. Which brings us to the last and final thing we need to talk about. The reason why we placed a reinforcement on the left side of the office wall is because we made it harder for them to use this planting spot. But if they have thermite, they are able to open up the wall and plant facing the office, and it will be out of view from courtyard from both the lobby as well as the kitchen hallway. So if this happens, you're going to have to use your smokes or your C4s to stop it. Unless they have a hard breacher, they're not going to really be able to do the spot. But you should just know about it and be cautious about it. Alright, so overall I would say this strategy is definitely harder to play than the one I covered last week on Cafe. So don't expect to be perfect at playing this objective instantly. However, with the right amount of time and practice, this objective becomes one of the best, if not the best, objectives to play on this map. And finally, if you guys want to use this strategy with your friends, just send them this video or take a screenshot of this blueprint right now so they can know who they're playing and where they're playing and what they should reinforce. Thank you guys for watching today's video, and please subscribe if you are new. I appreciate all the support, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.